Is Best Buy's Mac upgrade program for you? This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by NordVPN. Get secure and private access to the internet with a special deal at nordvpn.com/MacVoices. This week's MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide is an endpoint solution that uses the most powerful untapped resource in IT, end users. Learn more at kolide.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's MacVoices Live. It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We'd love to have you join us on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. That's where some of our friends have gathered in the chat. There will be more momentarily, I'm sure, because there always are. You could be there with us and with them, throwing questions, comments, thoughts, anything and everything into the chat. So if you're into it, please join us. And if you hear this later in the MacVoices feeds, set a reminder for 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and join us. We have a bunch of, I originally thought it was going to be a bunch of little topics tonight, but I'm not sure we're not going to get hung up on at least one or two big ones. So we're going to go and attack that and see what happens.
There are no little topics, Chuck.
Well, some of these are pretty little. Trust me.
Have you seen the show?
Yeah, well, yeah, good point. So let's go around the room, find out who's here, and then we'll see what happens. Taking my screen as I always do. In the corner of the Angels, Mr. David Ginsburg. David, good to have you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me, Chuck. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, it just is always. Up, it's not the corner of the Angels. I don't know what corner it is. Warren Sklar is here from his basement. Warren, good to have you.
Who let Princess Leia come in while I was sleeping?
We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah.
Yes, of course. I'm good. I unfortunately lost my Adidas contract a couple hours ago, but other than that, I'm pretty good. Good to be here.
Okay, good. Sorry you lost the contract.
I know.
Jim Ray has joined us once again. Jim, it's great to have you. Thanks so much.
We'll see if it's great.
Not exactly a vote of confidence in yourself there, Jim. Our chief research officer, Mr. Jeff Gamet, is here. Jeff, good to have you.
Oh, if we've reached the point where I actually am our chief research officer, either we're in serious trouble or all of you are in serious trouble.
Okay, well, take it as it comes.
Oh, I'll bring it on, Kelly.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Andrew Orr is here as well. Andrew, good to have you.
Hey, I am here. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. The only person who took my offer of, or suggestion, I should say, to show up in costume, Kelly Guimont has appeared. I assume.
Yeah, I
Princess
really
Leia,
didn't think I was going to be the only one. It's just my casual Jedi robes, not the fancy ones.
Oh, excuse me.
Wait, there was actually a custom request. I completely missed seeing that.
Well, it wasn't a request. It was an offer. If you wanted.
I read it and forgot about it.
It was
in my
defense,
a suggestion that I was the only one who either saw or believed. One of the two. I'm not sure which.
I dressed up as Jeff, and Jeff is dressed up as me. You just can't tell because we're just really, really good at our costumes.
We're really
Jeff
good
did
at
dress up. He's wearing pants.
Yeah, that's my costume.
There you go.
I actually shaved my beard, and this is a costume beard.
And I'm masquerading as myself. So, which is always a masquerade.
Oh, I see it now, Chuck.
Yeah.
Now, Kelly, your costume doesn't look so hot now.
I mean,
what's wrong with their costume?
I'm saying
Kelly, just force choke him.
Yeah, the hood's gonna fall
great.
off anyway, so I might as well just skip ahead to where it slides off my head.
Are you at least gonna say like you're my only hope or something?
Well, it's not. I'm not Princess Leia. It's just general Jedi robes. So yeah.
No, but I'm intrigued by the fact that there apparently are formal and informal Jedi robes.
I
Well,
didn't realize
I have
there was.
formal and informal. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How can you not
trendsetter, you.
know that
I mean,
Jedi
there are-
have formal robes?
there are
Oh,
dress robes. Like that's totally a thing.
I didn't know that she would. I mean, I'm still thinking of my Halloween days of being 13. If you were looking like Kelly, you were Princess Leia. There was
This is
No,
far more
nothing.
of a cosplay decision than a Halloween decision.
right.
This is
I'm
just
way
something that
behind
I,
it. Yeah,
that I
didn't.
haven't built. So yeah.
I didn't keep up with the genre enough to know. Sorry, I apologize for that.
You
Well,
have a
you're
lot
not
of
alone.
homework to do
Like-
now.
I
Lauren.
do.
Like
Yeah.
at the Star Wars themed wedding, this was only part of the outfit I wore. The underneath stuff is different.
What's the study of the Force called? It had the name, right? Or is it?
Jedi.
You studying the
Judaism?
Force is you are
It's
trained
not
with the Jedi.
Jediism. I thought they had
Yeah.
a like ism, like a religionism kind of thing.
Nope.
All right, moving on from Star Wars, let's talk Apple and
Why?
Mac and tech. Yeah, why?
Yeah,
Thanks.
I could keep
We have to
going.
spend another couple minutes because Brittany isn't here. 'Cause
I love
she's
Star Wars.
actually in Star Wars land, probably as we speak.
Yes.
Tatooine.
Yes, so,
That
don't
would
think-
explain the disturbance I felt in the Force.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, she's on Batu right now, so
Oh, fun.
that's why she's not here. Yeah.
A mermaid in Star Wars, in the Star Wars universe. That's got to work on that one.
That's not the dumbest thing we've had out of the Star Wars universe in the last year. So
I didn't say
with
that.
it.
I did not say that. I do
No,
not
you
want to
did
be
not.
credited with.
and I stand behind it.
Don't want to be credited with that.
I look forward
And-
to your letters.
I mean, I'm sure there really is a mermaid somewhere in Star Wars universe. To be honest with you.
I just threw the first story in the chat in both chat rooms.
Let's talk about Mac, Apple.
Yeah, let's get to it. Best Buy has introduced an upgrade program with a Mac upgrade program with 3 years of financing, and it's interesting because it really it feels a little bit like the iPhone upgrade program that Apple has.
Mhm.
You pay a set amount per month, and then at the end of the 3 years, in the 37th month, you pay essentially what would be the balance of the price that you would have paid if you had just bought the machine outright up front.
Mhm.
The thing that I'm not completely clear on is it implies that Best Buy will make that payment for you if you renew or re-up and get another new machine and just keep on going. Sort of like the way that Apple does with all of us, that we don't pay it off. We just kind of keep things rolling.
I got
And
the
when
email.
the-
I didn't read it.
Yeah.
I saw the email, but
Yeah. Well, when the time comes, then at the end, whenever for whatever reason you leave the program, you're going to end up having to pay off that particular loan.
Mhm.
so being the Best Buy rep, real fast, I'll just tell you here. It's every 3 years. So that's where I stopped reading. Is you only get the you can't. It's 3 years worth of a laptop. So you upgrade every 3 years. Which
You're out.
I'm out. So that gets me out. But,
You upgrade every month.
no, I mean, but if they had
Every
a yearly
quarter.
thing, I mean, seriously, I would have read the email if it was upgrade every year, like a kind of an Apple program.
It's hardware as a service. I mean, it's like leasing a car or anything else, right? Like you get the opportunity to buy it at the end, or you get the opportunity to trade it in towards the new thing. We already do this with phones. We do it with cars. Businesses do this sometimes with their hardware if they're in a position where the hardware requires refreshing,
But
right?
it's
Instead of having
entirely-
to lay out all the cash up front for 2 to 4 years, we'll say, of peak performance out of the hardware that you have. You lease it and then move on to the next generation, basically when Apple cares up, because a lot of leases are on 3-year terms for
But how can anybody
through
plan for
Apple
3
for
years?
business.
How can anybody plan for knowing if they're going to, with a hardware, with a phone, I can almost see it, but with Macs, 10 years ago, people were keeping their, Mac laptop, computers for 10 years.
Mhm.
Things are progressing a lot differently now with the chips and the architecture and things like that.
Yeah.
People are, some of them are holding on longer, some of them are not. A lot of them
Mhm.
are not, because literally the technology of the everything's just changing so fast at this point.
But Warren, if I read it correctly, that's one of the things that's interesting. You have the option to buy out your contract at any time, and it doesn't look like there's a penalty associated with it.
Yeah, and T-Mobile does that with the phone too, and that's what, with T-Mobile, if you owe money at the end of their, I think that what they call it, they renew every 2 or something. They have a thing like that too, and you could pay it off early, and it seems like it works out. But sometimes you got to look at it because sometimes it doesn't.
Right. You have to.
All
it depends
the providers
on
do
the
it.
terms.
Yeah.
But I'm curious. I want to ask the chat room, but I know that this group, I'm not sure this applies to us because I think probably we do upgrade more often than every 3 years.
We are the anomaly, Chuck.
Right.
Well,
We're not people. We're the MacVoices panel,
we're
which
this.
is different. That's
I think for most people, the average computer buyer, 3 years and it's paid off, no interest, or they get a new computer and just keep going, is for the average user, that's a great deal. Because
that
3
has
years
a truckload of appeal.
3 years just seems like a weird time though. Like with a hardware with a computer, it's like either you're us and doing it every year, or you're keeping it for 5 or 6 years. You don't, it just seems like a
but if you
strange.
keep it for 5 or 6 years, and you have an option to just get a new one every 3 years, you're more likely to get the new computer. So now you have people in a more frequent upgrade cycle, and you just have constant money coming in from them.
Right.
And
So it's definitely better for Best Buy when people,
of course, it's better for Best Buy.
Well, and if you get Apple Care is a 3-year term. I think now they've got an option where you can up it to 4, but generally Apple Care is 3 years because that's sort of Apple's expected life on the machine. So
stop for a second because they changed it. If you do a monthly, if you do a monthly, it doesn't end. It's an indefinite contract at this point. So you could on all your devices not be in that lock.
Yeah,
but I assume it ends when the support for the device ends.
No,
yeah, that's part of.
Apple's changed that recently.
No, that's
Wait, no. I mean, like when they declare it vintage.
Oh, sure. Well,
yeah,
which is maybe 5 years sometimes.
Yeah,
usually it's 5 or more before it's to move from obsolete to vintage. But the thing about it is that this is also an easy way for people to not have to come up with $2,000 or more depending on the machine. Like, I don't have to cough up $1,500 today if I need a new computer. Maybe it's however, I can't do the math to divide that by 24 in my head, but it's under $100 a month. And for under $100 a month, I can get a computer and always have one that is not ancient, that is not creaky, that is not embarrassing if I need to ask somebody for help with it. And for, like I said, we're not people. We're the edge case, and sometimes that cuts us, and sometimes it bleeds, and sometimes it's terrible. And
if it was 1 year, would we be all over it? Most of us, this edge case.
I mean, if there some
that's
people,
what I'd be all over it if it was a 1 year.
Yeah, some people do it with phones, and I think I don't know, but I think if you do leasing through Apple, first of all, you have to meet a minimum amount of money in order to do that. So it needs to be a pretty serious machine if it's just one. But because I've had to do a bunch of this at work lately, which is why I'm pretty up on how all of the leasing stuff works for Apple. But it for a lot of folks, for a lot of things, like if it's hardware that needs to be regularly refreshed, that's just a good idea. Like if you are a very, very small business, and you want to lease a really nice machine because you do AV work, you're a freelance, video production person or something, like you kind of always are asking a little more of your hardware. So being able to just trade that in 3 years and not have to come up with another 4 or 5 or 6 grand, depending on the machine, is really appealing. And for other people, being able to have sort of a low monthly payment and sort of think of it as renting is really nice. So I think for a lot of people, this is probably going to be something that would make them consider, especially as Apple still has to kind of overcome the Macs are expensive kind of a thing. Like, what if it wasn't expensive? What if it was $90 a month and you always have a late model machine? That's not so bad.
So A couple things here. First of all, we should point out that these are all laptops. That we have the M1 Air, we have the M2 Air, the MacBook Pro 13, the MacBook Pro 14, the MacBook Pro 16 with M1. One of the things that I thought was interesting, the M1 Air is, let's see, $19.99 a month. The M2 Air is $26 a month for 36 months. The MacBook Pro is $28.17. The M1 14-inch is $43.34, and the 16-inch is $54.17. So those, and of course the final payments vary considerably, actually. But so naturally, I right away went to the top of the line, and you can get it with the M1 Ultra. You can configure it that way, and of course the price goes up significantly, but your choice of storage was very limited. The most you could get was 1 terabyte. So these are not any of the custom builds, which I would think if you were serious about really thinking about trying to do this, and you were looking at that level machine, I would think that might potentially be a detriment.
Possibly.
So today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide is a fleet visibility solution for Mac, Windows, and Linux that can help you securely scale your business. The challenge with endpoint security has always been that it's difficult to scale, and when remote work took over, that challenge got exponentially harder. You need visibility into your fleet of devices in order to meet security goals and reduce service desk tickets. But how do you get that visibility when different parts of your company run on Mac, Windows, and Linux? You get Kolide. Kolide is an endpoint security solution that gives IT teams a single dashboard for all devices, regardless of their operating system. Kolide gives you real-time access to your fleet's data and can do things that traditional MDMs can't. And instead of installing intrusive agents or locking down devices, Kolide takes a user-focused approach that communicates security recommendations to your employees directly on Slack. You can answer every question you have about your fleet without intruding on your workforce. Visit kolide.com/MacVoices to find out how. If you follow that link, they'll hook you up with a goodie bag just for activating a free trial. That's Kolide, KOLIDE.com/MacVoices. Again, kolide.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Kolide for their support of MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by NordVPN. Get secure and private access to the internet with NordVPN. Are you getting more concerned about cybercrime? The bad guys stealing your private data and invading your privacy? Watching what you do when you're online? And you aren't as tech savvy as maybe you wish you were? NordVPN to the rescue. NordVPN is a one-stop shop for all things cybersecurity. It's incredibly easy to use. Just one click and you are protected, and you don't have to be a tech genius to use it. With a NordVPN account, you can have up to 6 devices protected. Stop worrying about hackers, malicious sites, and pop-ups. For the price of 1 coffee a month, you can have complete peace of mind knowing that your devices and data are protected. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/MacVoices to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/MacVoices. nordvpn.com/MacVoices. Thanks to NordVPN for supporting this week's MacVoices.
Well, I mean, at that point, if you were doing business leasing isn't constrained by this. If you're just somebody that's going to roll into Best Buy and go, hey, I kind of feel like a new computer, that's a different conversation. But you can lease build-to-order machines from Apple if you so desire. So I think honestly, because I do not ask a lot of my machine, I'm not a person who, the computer I have now is 2 years old next month. Sorry, Warren. And I'm going to have it for at least another year. Sorry, Warren's going to faint, I think, here in a second. But it might be another 2 years before I trade it in, because I don't the whole reason I ended up upgrading in the first place was just because it was starting to visibly show on my 4-year-old machine what, it was really, really time. So it's not a thing that, like, honestly, to me, when this machine starts getting a little long in the tooth, the leasing option might be something I would consider, because it's not my computer is not the thing that I want to upgrade all the time. It's usually one of my other devices. It's my phone, it's my iPad, those kinds of things. That's where I'm looking at. Maybe I do want to get on that. I get a new phone every October plan. That might be fun.
So like Dave and I talk a lot about whether, because Apple devices have a great resale value, and that's so there's people like me who buy outright generally and then sell and put that towards a new device, and then there's other people who are on this kind of plan that Best Buy is doing, or Apple's yearly plan, things like that, where and we I think we've done the math here and there. It's almost even at that point of what you're paying per year, right?
Sure.
Whether you're leasing it or whether you're buying outright and selling it, because again, Apple trade-in has been pretty impressive the past 3 or 4 years, I think, and you could still get decent money for it, whereas anything else you can't do that with.
Right.
Well, there's so many factors here. I want to get the chat room. And Brian says, I think he, of course, looks for deals, education discount, Black Friday deals, etc., coupled with 3% back for Apple products on my Apple Card. I'd likely skip the Best Buy offer, which is a really good point. I mean, because you have an automatic 3% discount if you use an Apple Card.
You might still get it, to be honest with you, because you can use an Apple Card at Best Buy to buy Apple products and get 3%. I've done it. Yeah.
Also, special announcement, newsflash. We have Frank Petrie in the chat room. Frank, it's great to see you there.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Great to see you. Hope you're feeling better, and we hope to see you back here soon. But for right now, it's just good to see your text flying across the screen.
Nice.
Yes. So
I heard when Frank comes back, he's going to celebrate by buying all of his brand new M2 MacBook Pros. Frank, you're so generous, and we love you.
What a guy! What a guy! Yeah, I love it. I love
it. Frank P just left the chat room.
It's because he's running out to buy laptops.
Yeah, sure. He's headed to Best Buy for that lease plan.
Yeah. But for $20 a month, you can have an M1 MacBook Air. I mean, that's I should say the payoff price on that in that 37th month is $280.35. So that's not bad. I don't think for someone that just needs a computer. They aren't pushing the edges.
Read that again. Well, you said it was $20 a month to rent.
$20 a month for 36 months, and then a final payment in this 37th month of $280.35.
All right. So you did the math. It
comes out
to 600. Yeah. So
it comes right out. It comes right out at the purchase price. So again, there are no discounts here.
Yeah, you're paying what the price is.
You're paying full retail,
sales tax, and everything else.
Right.
So the only difference between that and the credit card is interest, right? Because you could do the same thing on a credit card, and
right, but then you got to pay interest.
Then you're paying interest,
right?
Yeah, yeah. So, I think this is great. It puts more Macs potentially in the hands of more people. It's a little surprising that Apple hasn't done this, but Best Buy is doing it, so good for them.
Maybe it's coming. I mean, I could totally see Apple doing the same thing. Through with tacked onto the Apple Card program or something.
But
that's what I was wondering.
Best Buy still is using the Citizens Bank like Apple is the same bank.
Yeah.
Right, but the rumor was the big rumor was Apple was going to unleash their computer lease program like this. It was supposed to happen, but it never did.
It's only for business.
For now.
I mean, it makes sense doing it for business.
Yeah.
for Apple to do it for consumers, I always thought that for laptops or iMacs,
Right.
whatever, for computers, that always seemed to me like not Apple's thing.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it with the phones totally makes sense because it's a proven thing for them. Letting Best Buy do this, or Best Buy deciding to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But Best Buy caters to consumers already, and they're in a position where they can do something like this. So for them, sure, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Just bought an OLED TV from them yesterday, and I'm getting
But hold stock in Best Buy as much as you buy from them.
So I got an OLED TV. So I got it as a display, not a display, a certified refurbished or whatever they do. So it's normally, if I'm looking at it now, it's normally $3,600 TV. I got for like $2,200 for the LG 77-inch OLED. Perfect. I put it up yesterday. I mean, they have a refurbished program that's really good, and they have Apple certified refurbished. And I don't know, and plus I'm getting about $80 back for rewards on it. So I could put $8 towards anything there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious. Since we're not the people, and I don't want to run down of all your machines, but your daily driver, whatever it is that you use, most, how old is your daily driver? David?
A little over a year.
Okay. Warren?
A year. The daily driver is my 14-inch Pro, I think.
Okay.
MacBook Pro.
Jim?
Right now it's a little over a year, but it was 4 years before that.
Okay. Jeff?
3 years as of next month.
Okay. So you're right there on the bubble. Andrew?
For me, I think it's been almost 2 years. I have the 2020 MacBook Air.
Okay.
Kelly? The guy.
I have the OG M1 MacBook Pro, so November 2020. So it's almost 2.
Okay. I'm not sure that's a fair poll, just because I think we all were enamored with the M1.
Well, mine replaced the 2015. So mine was because I kept waiting for. Well, I kept waiting for the keyboard not to suck, and it just kept not.
I took one for the team.
Apple.
It's people like me is why you got the new keyboard, because we had to suffer and complain about it.
And then Apple decided they were building their own processor. So just about the time I was ready to pull the trigger on finally upgrading my 2015, Apple came out at Dub and said, "Hi, we're making our own chips. So maybe you should wait, Kelly." So I waited another 6 really long months and got the new machine. So yeah.
Andrew in our private chat says he followed up with he replaced a 2014 MacBook Pro, he thinks. And Brian in the YouTube chat room, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I just want to say I kind of do agree with what Kelly was saying before. I think this whole subscription plan makes sense for iPhones, but for Macs, in my view, they tend to last longer. So like I said in our chat, I had a 2014 MacBook Pro, and I only just upgraded to this 2020 MacBook Air when it came out. So I just feel maybe those don't make sense for a subscription, just because I think those Macs last longer.
Yeah. But Andrew, you also got by on your 2014 because technically for a long time, your daily driver was your iPad. It was not your laptop.
That's also true. Yeah.
So with Andrew, it's a trick question.
Yeah. So Brian in the chat room says, my main is a 27-inch iMac 2020, but I also have an M2 MacBook Air 2022. Did I say that right? 27 iMac 2020 and an M2 MacBook Air 2022. Webb says his is about a year MacBook Pro 2021. VertShark says M1 Mac Mini.
VertShark says a lot of things.
Yeah, well, and a 16-inch MacBook Pro.
Too many microphones.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure that this doesn't appeal to more people than maybe we would think, and including maybe some of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I mean, what makes me think that I could probably do everything I do. You asked what a daily driver is, and I could technically do everything I do in my daily life on probably like a 2015 or 16 MacBook at this point, right? I mean, the difference maybe speed and fan noise, I guess, at that point, but it's relative, I guess. So we gravitate towards these crazy processing machines like what we use for the pros, and I barely use probably 5% of the power of it, but it's pretty
well. And Warren, that to me is what it really boils down to, is how many of us are running overpowered machines for what we do. That's the thing. We all want it, and but at the end of the day, do you really need it? So,
no, and it's Apple marketing. That's why when they say M2s are announced, people start drooling. And there's like I said last week, is I could only imagine probably 1 or 2% of the world that uses these machines are even going to notice the difference between an M1 and M2.
Yeah, and
but it comes in blue.
Yeah,
but it comes in blue.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I take back my age of my. I take back my age. I'm sorry. I take back the age of my Mac. I've only had it 10 months.
You insulted it.
Yeah, I went too far. I bought it in January.
Yeah, well, we had a quick comment in the chat room saying, "Are we really spending all this time talking about financing?" Yeah, I think this is important for people to really think about what they're doing, because all indications are we're headed into a recession, and this where that somebody might not be able to scrape together $1,000 for a new M1 MacBook laptop. They can probably scrape together $20 a month if they use a computer for any significant part of the time, and still only have $280 in 3 years to pay off. And then they might need to either roll it and get a new machine, or they can pay that $280 and keep the machine.
Mm-hmm. In the past, Chuck, that I've seen that Best Buy employees will personally escort the people from the Apple section to the Chromebook section when they don't have enough money. So instead now they could buy the things they need.
Yeah. All right. Well, I did want to touch on that because I think it is important, especially given the economics of the world right now, that we want to pay attention to this. I wanted to throw another story in that this really is just, David and I were talking about it a little bit pre-show, that just terrifies me.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Well, another fun topic.
Apparently I was the only one who was under the impression this was the Halloween show. So yes, let's see the scary story, Chuck.
Yes. The scary story is that Meta and Microsoft are teaming up for workplace VR. So they want to stream Windows
because people like
365.
working from home, and they decided they want to ruin that.
People want to work at home and play Halo and check their email and check their Facebook.
I mean, what could go wrong? Microsoft and Meta teaming up. There will be no privacy left in the world at all.
Oh, Chuck, that ship sailed a long time.
Have I got news for you, darling? Yeah.
What privacy?
Thanks a lot.
It's funny you mentioned that, because just earlier today, I was flipping through. I have an app that shows like what you posted on like social media and stuff on this day. And it was an article that I wrote for the Unofficial Apple Weblog back in the day about how there was now a login with Facebook button on Skype. And so I shared the link and said, so log into hell with a button from Satan. And I feel like apparently that's still an accurate assessment.
As you can tell, the conversation about working from home really heated up with a lot of different opinions and positions. And it spilled over into the next edition of MacVoices, where we wrap that up and also talk about the price increases for some of Apple's services. That's all next time on MacVoices. I hope you'll join us then. Until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.